Hey, I'm Drake, and today I'm going to teach you how to use Raspberry Pi Headless by using an SSH connection. But first, we need to download some software. The first being PuTTY, which will use the SSH connection and establish a VNC server on the Raspberry Pi, and second is the VNC server to access the Raspberry Pi. Now, why do we want to go headless? Well, headless is really easy because if we don't have an extra monitor, we just use a laptop screen. Plus, if you're doing work remotely and you only have access to a laptop, that's how you should do it. Alright, now to set up our Raspberry Pi. We're going to power it on, plug in the Ethernet from here to the back of the router. We're going to go find the IP address of the router that's on the back of it. Then we're going to find the IP address of the Raspberry Pi, put it into our PuTTY, and then we should be good to go. So right now this is my setup. Okay, so now that everything has been done, everything's hooked up, the Wi-Fi is hooked up, we're now going to go find the IP address, and I couldn't find mine on the back of it. So right here on the left side, I opened up the command prompt and typed in ipconfig. What that's going to do is at default gateway, it's going to give me my IP address to my router. Then, using any browser, I'm going to type in that IP address, and then type in admin or CUS admin, and then my current Wi-Fi password. Now I'm going to log in and try to find my Raspberry Pi's IP address. So now I'm in and I can see all the connected devices to my Wi-Fi. So I'm going to go click view, and I'm going to click on the Raspberry Pi, and it's going to give me my IP address right there. So now we're going to enter our IP address that we just found out, which is 10.0.0.204. We're going to make sure it's port 22. That's to establish the SSH connection, and we're going to make sure the connection type is SSH. So now we're going to enter. We're going to log in as Pi, which should be default, and then enter your password if you've set one. If not, it should just be Raspberry. Don't worry that nothing comes up. Just type it in, then click enter. Now we're going to type in our command lines, which our first one is going to be sudo apt-get install tight VNC server. Now this is just installing the VNC server onto the Raspberry Pi, and then we're going to type in tight VNC server to establish our desktop. Now it says here desktop X is 1, so now for you guys it'll ask a password. I've already set this up, so it won't ask me for one, but now right behind it we'll go into the VNC server. So now we're going to enter the IP address again, right? 10.0.0.204, and then :1. Now it's going to connect to it, and then it's going to ask me my password. So now I've entered my password. There will be a security warning that comes up, but don't worry about that. It's fine. But now, as you can see, I have full control over my Pi. So if I just want to go here, open up a Python document, now I can.